When you see an article or a book or some other kind of source, maybe a podcast, anything like that, we want you to ask the first two questions. Who is the author? Who has written this piece of article or this piece of information? Where do they come from? Where have they published before? Is it a famous writer or author or researcher, or is it somebody who's completely new in the field? That might have an influence on the content of the information that you're looking at. Also check the source, so not only the author, but also the original source of the publication. So what kind of publisher is it? Is it a good publisher that you can trust? Do they treat their authors and editors fairly, for example? Is it a journal, or is it just a magazine with a sort of semi-scientific article? Is it an institution that vouches for the quality of the publication? All of these are really interesting questions that you should ask yourself to make sure that you just not see something that might be slightly fake. Because we do talk about fake news these days, and that concern is real. There are also fake academic news, and we should be aware of that. The next pair of questions is connected to what kind of communication we are dealing with. So one of the questions you should ask yourself is, who is the target group? Is this article or book written for my target group? Is it relevant to my field of expertise, or is it something that's slightly related, but not entirely? Is it created in a specific context? Does it come from a conference, for example, where they all have a common theme to talk about? Why is it published in that conference and not in a regular journal? Those sorts of things are also good to ask. The other question related to that is it relevant? Again, it can be really interesting, but not necessarily relevant for what you're trying to do. So one way of checking relevance is also to check when it was published, what year, and what date. Has something been published after that that's even more relevant? Am I looking at the latest argument or discussion in this field, or am I looking at something that happened several years ago that we have now concluded wasn't correct or wasn't as relevant? The academic structure, don't we love that? That starts with the abstract, the background, the literature description, the method section. Does it have a result? Does it have a discussion? Does it try to add something? Does it also refer to previous works? Have they listed their references, for example? This is something that could be missed sometimes, especially if you are researching a field that's somewhere in between sort of popular science and science. You might drop into sources where you actually have to check, have they been methodologically looking at this field or this question, this research question. Very important to double check that. This one, the nerdy glasses, is it quality checked? And this one is one of the most important things to check for. This is also tricky to check for because it comes the description of peer review is which is the quality check, the academic quality check is called. The description of that could be done in different ways. Do you remember when I did the search result and I clicked the little box that says peer reviewed? That's when I add this mark. This is the most common quality check for academic journals. Almost all of them that are reliable should be doing peer review. And peer review means that the item, the article, or the information has been double-checked by other academics within the same field.